This happened a few weeks ago. I'm Jake, a 35-year-old documentary filmmaker. I went out there to capture footage of wildlife and local folklore in those rugged hollows. I thought it would be a good way to connect with nature, maybe discover some hidden stories. I've never stopped thinking about it. When I arrived at the cabin, it was empty and quiet. It felt like a scene from a movie. The place was surrounded by thick trees, and I could only hear birds singing. I thought it would be peaceful. I set down my gear, taking in the fresh mountain air. The sun began to dip below the mountains, and I felt a spark of excitement. I was ready for my adventure. On the second night, things got strange. It was late when I started hearing rustling outside. At first, I thought it was just wind, but then I heard laughter. It was weird and didn't make sense. I grabbed my camera, feeling my heart race. I wanted to capture whatever was out there, but something kept me from opening the door. I felt uncertain, staring into the dark. I set up my camera by the window and pointed it toward the noise, hoping to film something interesting. Suddenly, I caught movement in the trees. Shadows danced just beyond my view. I squinted, and for a moment, I thought I saw a figure peering back at me. I knew I wasn't imagining things. They'd appear and disappear so quickly. One time, I thought I saw someone wave. I blinked, and they were gone. It sent chills down my spine. I didn't feel alone anymore. Hours passed, and I felt a tightness in my chest. The laughter continued, echoing through the trees. It wasn't just one voice, it was a chorus of whispers and giggles that rose and fell like the wind. I couldn't make out words, just strange sounds that crept into my mind. I kept telling myself it was just animals or even locals. But deep down, I felt a growing unease. A shadow darted past the edge of the trees. I leaned closer to my camera, but all I captured was darkness. Then I saw a figure standing far away. It was tall and thin, blending with the trees. The more I looked, the more I felt something was wrong. Fear flooded me as another figure stepped out beside the first. They stood still, just watching, their shapes flickering in my vision. I wanted to call out, to ask them who they were, but my voice seemed stuck in my throat. Then I noticed something carved into a tree nearby. I walked closer, feeling drawn to it. The symbols were strange twisted lines and curves that made no sense. I felt a cold rush as I looked closer at the tree. The symbols were wrong. Suddenly, I heard a whisper behind me. I spun around, but nobody was there. The air was heavy, and I knew then I should have never come here. The laughter returned, filling my ears, pulling me deeper into the dark. I ran back inside, but I could still feel their eyes on me, waiting. The next morning, I woke up feeling like I hadn't slept at all. My dreams were filled with twisted faces and laughter, echoing what I heard the night before. I brushed it off as my imagination running wild, but unease settled in my stomach. I wanted to shake it off, to get back to filming my documentary. After all, I was here for a reason. I decided to take a hike to a nearby creek. Perhaps some fresh air would clear my mind. The sun was shining bright, casting dappled shadows on the forest floor. I took a deep breath, hoping to banish the lingering fear. As I walked, I found myself drawn to the same area where I saw the figures. Despite my better judgment, my curiosity pulled me back. As I approached the tree with the strange carvings, I felt a chill in the air. The symbols were more pronounced in daylight, jagged and menacing. I pulled out my camera, wanting to document this oddity. I felt a weight on my chest as I zoomed in, every click of the shutter making me feel more watched. It was as if the forest was listening. That's when I saw a small clearing just beyond the tree. Something glimmered in the sunlight, catching my eye. I hesitated, a sense of dread creeping back in, but I moved closer, driven by that insatiable need to discover the truth. The glimmer turned out to be an old piece of metal, partially buried in the dirt. I wiped off the leaves and dirt to reveal what looked like a rusted knife, its blade almost completely dulled. Before I could process what I had found, I heard it again: laughter. This time it was closer. I froze, scanning the surroundings. The sounds were high-pitched, childlike, but twisted in a way that sent shivers down my spine. I clutched the knife instinctively, feeling foolish for my need to explore. Suddenly, a figure dashed past me, barely visible among the trees. I tried to follow it, adrenaline pumping through my veins. My mind screamed to run, but I pushed ahead. I had to see who it was, maybe even confront them. I thought it could be locals playing tricks, but deep down, I knew something was terribly off. As I sprinted into the trees, the laughter crescendoed, echoing all around me. I stumbled, falling into the underbrush. Panicking, I shouted, "Who is there?" My voice sounded weak, swallowed by the noise. The laughter stopped abruptly. Silence enveloped me, and I felt the hair on my neck stand on end. I got up, heart pounding. It was too quiet. I stood alone, surrounded by looming trees. I turned to head back to the cabin, but that's when I realized I had lost my way. The path I had followed was gone, swallowed by the forest. Panic surged inside me. Just as I began to panic, a flicker of movement caught my eye. I turned slowly, and there, a figure emerged from the trees, taller than the rest, just outside the edge of the clearing. Their face was hidden in the shadows, but their presence was clear. I could feel it staring at me. I wanted to scream, to run, but the figure raised an arm slowly, pointing straight at me. My breath hitched as I took a step back. The forest around me felt alive and threatening. Then, without warning, the laughter returned, echoing around me, this time in a chorus, filling the air with a sinister tone. I had to get back. I ran, weaving through the trees blindly, the laughter chasing me. I dashed through the trees, branches scraping against my arms and legs. The laughter surrounded me, a cacophony that bounced off the trunks and filled my ears. It felt like a living thing, wrapping around me like a fog, almost tangling me in its grasp. Each sound echoed my panic, urging me to move faster. I could barely think straight. Sweat dripped from my brow, and my heart hammered in my chest. I had to find the path. I had to get back to the cabin. But the laughter didn't cease. Instead, it grew louder, more chaotic, and yet, I felt as if I were losing the trail with every frantic step. Then I saw a glimpse of light ahead. I pushed myself towards it, praying it was my way out. As I broke through the underbrush, I was hit with a wave of relief. The cabin stood just ahead, a beacon amidst the dark trees. But before I could move another step, the laughter stopped again, and I froze. The clearing erupted with a new sound, rustling leaves and something heavier than a breath echoed behind me. I turned slowly, scanning the woods, listening. The air suddenly turned thick, and the feeling of being watched crept back in. That same figure from earlier seemed to loom behind the trees, camouflaged in shadow but unmistakably there. "Who are you?" I called out, my voice trembling. "What do you want?" No response came. Instead, the trees shook softly, as if they were whispering secrets. My breath caught in my throat. Just then, a few smaller figures darted past, moving with lightning speed. Their laughter returned, filling the air, but now it mixed with low, guttural growls. It sent a chill through my body. I turned back to the cabin, ready to run, when the ground beneath me seemed to shift. I looked down and noticed a faint outline in the dirt, a series of footprints, small and light, leading away from the cabin and into the thick of the forest. My heart raced as I realized that these marks weren't just from some animal but something else entirely. Every instinct told me to flee, but the lure of the mystery held me in place. Curiosity bubbled beneath the fear. Were they leading me to something? I could film this, document it, that would surely uncover the truth. I was torn between reason and instinct, feeling like a fool for even contemplating another venture into this madness. As I deliberated, a voice soft, almost melodic cut through the silence. "Come play with us." The words floated effortlessly through the trees, and I felt a tug at my heart. It was enticing, yet unnerving. Before I could react, a rush of wind swept through the clearing, and the figures flitted back into view. They surrounded me in a circle, their eyes gleaming, reflecting bits of sunlight that pierced through the leaves. I was trapped, engulfed by their childlike glee. I turned to bolt for the cabin, but I was met with laughter that crescendoed into a roar, exhilarating yet foreboding. I had stumbled into something I didn't understand, and each second felt like an eternity. With no other option, I thrust my hand forward, gripping the knife tightly, ready for whatever was to come. This was far beyond just a documentary. Something had changed, and the forest had revealed its true face. Then, everything went dark. I woke up with a gasp, my body cold and my heart racing. The air around me felt different, heavier. I was no longer in the clearing, I was inside the cabin. Confusion washed over me. How had I gotten back here? The last thing I remembered was the laughter, the shadows circling around me. I sat up slowly, taking in my surroundings. The cabin was eerily quiet. Sunlight filtered in through the dusty windows, illuminating motes of dust mid-air. I rubbed my eyes, half expecting to be back in the forest. Any moment, I thought, I'd hear the laughter again. But it was silent. I reached for my camera, which lay next to me on the floor. It was still intact. I was grateful for that, but I could feel a nagging fear clawing at my chest. I pulled it closer, hoping it would provide some comfort. The footage I had recorded before fading into darkness should have been there. It was my only proof, my way to understand what had happened. I pressed the playback button, desperate to see what my camera had captured. The screen flickered to life. My earlier frantic dash through the trees played out in front of me. I was shouting into the void, asking questions that echoed in my mind. Then, I saw them, the flashes of movement, the eyes and the shadows. But everything suddenly cut out right as I felt the wind rustle through the clearing. It left me feeling hollow. I turned off the camera, frustration bubbling beneath my fear. I needed to get out of here, needed a plan. I stood up, ignoring the ache in my limbs, and walked to the door. As I reached for the handle, I heard a soft knock noise coming from behind it. A chill raced through me. I hesitated, heart beating against my ribs. Then I remembered the footprints. Was someone outside? I held my breath, turning the knob slowly, ready to face whatever lay beyond. When I opened the door, my breath hitched. The forest was thick with fog. Everything was muted, colors faded into shades of gray. The shadows danced just beyond the tree line, and I could swear I saw small figures darting between the trunks. My hands trembled as I gripped the doorframe. "Come play with us," the voice from before echoed in my ears. Instinct told me to retreat, but my curiosity pushed me forward. I stepped out onto the porch, scanning the ground for the footprints. That's when I saw it. A small, twisted figure stood on the edge of the clearing. Its eyes shone bright under the cover of the trees, unblinking, fixed on me. I felt a wave of nausea as recognition flooded through me. It looked just like the beings I had seen in the woods, but smaller, more childlike. The laughter returned, piercing the stillness. This time, it sounded more sinister, layered with something sharp that sent dread curling in my stomach. "You have to come out," it called, voice sweet yet haunting. "It's not safe in there." A new kind of terror gripped me. I was torn. Was this an invitation or a warning? Then I felt it, a presence behind me. I turned, and my heart dropped. Someone or something was in the cabin with me. I hadn't been alone after all. Panic surged through me. I needed to make a choice, and I had to make it fast. In that moment, I had to decide whether to return to the cover of the cabin or plunge once again into the unknown. I forced myself to take a step back into the cabin, my instincts screaming at me to run. Just as I moved, a soft giggle echoed behind me. I spun around, prepared to confront whatever was lurking, but the cabin was empty. The silence was suffocating. I could feel my throat tightening. Each second felt stretched. I glanced back outside, where the twisted figure still lingered at the edge of the clearing. It hadn't moved, just watched me with those wide, unblinking eyes. "Why are you scared?" it teased, voice tinged with mock innocence. "It's better out here. We're waiting for you." I wasn't sure what we meant, but I could feel a shiver crawl up my spine. My heart raced, and I fought to swallow my fear. I had to focus. I needed to know what was happening. "Who are you?" I finally called out, trying to keep my voice steady. The figure twitched, and I heard whispers in the trees behind it. They sounded like more children, a chorus of giggles rising and falling. My blood ran cold as another thought crossed my mind. Was it possible they weren't alone? The air grew heavy, and the laughter twisted into something darker. "Just come play," it said again, voice sing-songy, but laced with a threatening edge. I edged back toward the door, suddenly feeling trapped. "What do you want?" I shouted, but my question hung in the air unanswered. The trees around the clearing seemed to tighten their grip, shadows lengthening. Then there it was again, a noise from within the cabin, a scrape followed by a low hum, like something scratching against the wood. My heart pounded. Had I truly been alone back there? What had been waiting for me? My pulse quickened, and I decided to confront the shadows. I took a deep breath and stepped back inside, shutting the door behind me. The walls felt close now, almost alive. I scanned the room for any sign of movement. All that remained was dust and the remnants of my fear. I approached the back wall, where I had seen the other figure, half hidden in dim lighting. I could feel a slight draft, as if something was just out of reach. A horrible thought crossed my mind: what if those shadows weren't just memories? I leaned against the wall and pressed my palm against it, feeling for any hidden door or passage. Nothing. But that humming grew louder, vibrating through the floor and into my bones. I was terrified, but I felt an unsettling urge to know. "Show yourself!" I yelled, my voice echoing. Suddenly, a flash of light burst from the corner of the room, bright enough to blind me for a moment. I stumbled back, trying to shield my eyes. Just as my vision cleared, I saw it, a reflection in the old glass of a picture frame that hung crooked on the wall. The image wasn't just me, there were figures standing behind me, just over my shoulder, grinning and twisted in ways that sent ice through my veins. They were everywhere, crowded and whispering. I turned again, but nothing was there. My breath came in ragged gasps. I was being hunted. Then, from outside, I heard the call again, compelling and dread-filled. "It's time to choose, come play with us." I felt an urgency surging in my chest. I had a decision to make. Do I confront the figures in the shadows that had invaded my reality, or do I answer the call from the forest, knowing it might lead me deeper into this nightmare? My hands shook as I clenched my fists. Whatever lay ahead, I had to decide quickly. I took a deep breath, the musty air clinging to my throat. My instincts urged me to flee, but curiosity anchored me in place. The whispers from the clearing were like a siren's song, drawing me in despite the overwhelming dread. I glanced outside again, where the figure still held its menacing stance. They seemed to be waiting, eyes glinting under the dim light. Against my better judgment, I stepped toward the door. If I was going to confront this strange reality, I needed to understand what was happening. I needed answers. As I opened the door, the chill of the night air rushed in, sending shivers through my body. The moment I stepped outside, the atmosphere shifted. The night felt alive, the woods whispering secrets that danced just out of reach. The figure had not moved, but its smile widened, revealing something sharp beneath its lips. Behind it, shadows flitted through the trees, giggles echoing, eerie and disembodied. "See? We've been waiting," it said, and for the first time, I could see its teeth glisten, unnaturally long. "Don't you want to join us?" A lump formed in my throat. I realized it was not just a representative of a singular menace, it felt like an invitation to something unknown, a dark, twisted game. The shadows shifted around me, and I could sense them closing in. I steeled my mind, forcing out the fear. "Why do you want me?" I asked, my voice trembling despite my effort to stay firm. It tilted its head, eyes narrowing with mock pity. "Because you belong with us. You'll see." Its laughter turned infectious, mixing with the voices of the other figures hidden in the shadows. It was too much. I had to act. I turned on my heel, rushing back inside the cabin. There had to be something here that could help me. I scanned the room, desperate for answers or clues. My gaze landed on the picture frame again, the glass still reflecting the grotesque faces behind me. As I approached it, the humming intensified, vibrating through the walls. I grabbed the frame and yanked it down, hoping to find something behind it. Instead, an old piece of paper slipped free, fluttering to the ground. My hands shook as I picked it up. It was a map, crude but familiar. The markings pointed to a spot deep within the woods, a place marked with a small red X. "That's it," I muttered, feeling a surge of hope. It had to be something important. Whatever those figures were after, it might be connected to that location. Suddenly, the door slammed shut behind me. I whirled around, heart racing. The laughter outside turned into hysterical cackles, ringing with menace. They were closing in. "I hope you're ready to play," the figure yelled through the thick wooden door, voice dripping with excitement. "You have to choose." In that moment, I realized I didn't have much time. I either had to follow the map and confront whatever horrors lay in the woods, or I could face the figures that were keen to drag me into their twisted game here and now. Before I could make up my mind, I noticed something shift in the corner of my eye. The reflection in the shattered glass began to move. The figures were rushing towards me, their faces distorted with joy and anticipation. I needed to decide before it was too late. I stood frozen, heart hammering against my ribs. The figures outside weren't just waiting anymore, they were moving, shadows melding into one another, rushing toward the door as if drawn by some hidden thread. Panic clawed at my throat. I had to choose. The map in my hand felt heavy, like a weight pressing me down. Where did it lead? What secrets rested beneath the red X? But the sounds outside became louder, the laughter grating against my nerves. "No time, no time," I whispered to myself, glancing at the still closed door. The figure's energy buzzed through the cabin, practically begging to be unleashed. "Your choice is simple," the figure called again, its voice dripping with malice. "Stay with us, or face the unknown. Either way, you won't be alone." I clenched the map, wishing for a moment that I had never stepped outside. Then, suddenly, an idea struck me. Maybe the map was the key, not just to escape but to uncover whatever truth lay hidden. If I could make it to that X, perhaps I could find a way to confront these things, to understand what they wanted. With a deep breath, I made my decision. I bolted toward the window nearest me, believing I could slip outside without stirring the figure's attention. I flung it open and climbed over the sill, landing softly on the leaf-strewn ground. The night enveloped me like a blanket, the rustle of trees blocking out the cacophony inside. As I stumbled into the woods, the map guided my steps, still gripped tightly in my hand. Moonlight filtered through the branches overhead, illuminating patches of ground like stage lights. My heart still raced, but determination began to overpower fear. Then, I heard a soft thud behind me. I turned, expecting to see one of the figures, but instead, a smaller figure emerged from the shadows. A girl, no older than 12, her skin pale and covered in dirt. She had a wild look in her eyes, and I recognized her from the woods. She had been part of the echoes in the clearing. "Don't go that way," she whispered urgently, glancing back as if expecting others to follow. "It's not safe." "Who are you?" I demanded, trying to keep my voice steady. "What do you know?" "They're not what you think," she said, backing away slightly. "You can't trust them. If you find the X, you won't be able to leave." Her warning sent chills through me. I pulled the map from my pocket, but I quickly realized something was off. The markings, the path to the exit felt different. I squinted at the moonlight illuminating the paper, only to see dark figure-like shapes forming around the edges, creeping closer. "What's happening?" I asked, growing frantic as shadows danced around us. "Run!" she shouted, grabbing my wrist and pulling me deeper into the woods. "They'll take you. You have to hide." Then everything went dark. The wind whirled around us, howling like a pack of wolves, and I could barely keep up with the girl as the world spun away. The cabin seemed to fade behind me, along with the figures, their laughter replaced by a heavy silence. I had chosen the unknown, but as we ran deeper into the night, I realized I was only plunging further into chaos. What other secrets lay ahead? And would I still find the answers I was searching for, or had I just jumped from the frying pan into the fire? I stumbled through the forest, my heart still racing. The girl pulled me through the underbrush, her breath coming in quick gasps. I wanted to ask questions, but the knot of fear in my throat made it hard to speak. I followed her lead, trusting her more than I wanted to admit. "Where are we going?" I finally managed to whisper, trying to catch my breath. "Away from them," she replied sharply, glancing back over her shoulder. "They're always watching. They don't like intruders. But we can hide. Come on." We ducked behind a gnarled tree trunk, the bark rough against my back. I strained to hear any signs of pursuit, but all I detected was the rustling of branches and the patter of leaves. My pulse thrummed loudly in my ears. As the quiet stretched on, a new fear gripped me. What if we were lost? "Are you okay?" I asked, glancing at her. She looked almost feral, untamed and wild. It was disconcerting. "What do you know about those things? Who are they?" She looked at me, her eyes fierce. "They're not just things. They were people, once. They belong to the woods now. You shouldn't tread where they roam, or they'll take you too." Her words chilled me. I thought back to the figures at the cabin, their shadows blending together. But I saw them acting like they were waiting for something. "They always wait," she replied solemnly. "For people lost in the dark. They want to lure them in. They want to keep them." "What do you mean keep them?" She shook her head, a wild look in her eyes. "You don't want to know. Once you're with them, there's no turning back. You'll forget everything." I felt a sense of cold wash over me. Would I forget who I was? Had I already started to lose myself in this chaos? "But the map," she interrupted, panic sliding into her voice. "The map won't help you. It's a trap." Before I could react, a low growl echoed through the trees. We both froze, terror threading through me. The girl's grip on my wrist tightened, and she pulled me deeper into the woods as the growl turned into a chorus of echoes, closing in around us. I felt a stirring in the air, something more than just sound. It was as if the very trees and dirt were vibrating with urgency. I risked a glance back and spotted a shadow darting between the trunks. It was fast, moving too quickly for comfort. "Run!" I yelled, breaking into a sprint. The girl raced ahead, both of us weaving through the trees like frightened deer. The growls intensified, now accompanied by whispers that seemed to come from every direction. "Don't look back. Just keep going," she shouted, but the instinct to look was overpowering. That's when I saw it. A figure cloaked in darkness stood at the edge of our path, motionless like a sentinel. My breath caught in my throat. Was this how it ended? Would I become just another name in a story? Eyes forward. The girl screamed. Go. I forced myself to obey. With a renewed burst of energy, we charged ahead, the haunting sounds shifting behind us as if they were choosing their next prey. I felt the weight of the map in my pocket, a heavy reminder of the choice I made. But as we broke into a clearing, a pale glow caught my attention. In the center, a strange stone altar stood, covered in what looked like dried leaves and crumpled paper. A sense of foreboding washed over me. Stop! The girl cried. We can't go near that. But I was drawn to it. Something about the altar felt alive, whispering promises I couldn't articulate. I hesitated, the tension rising like a storm. Would I find answers here, or was this just another trap set by the shadows? I didn't know what to think, but I knew one thing: I couldn't turn back now. I took a cautious step toward the altar, drawn in by an unseen force. The girl's frantic tugging on my arm jolted me back to reality. We have to leave. Her voice was laced with desperation. What if we need to examine it? I countered, uncertainty creeping into my thoughts. There might be some clue, something that tells us how to escape. Clues won't matter if they find us here. She shot back. A tremor ran through her body, and I felt the weight of her fear. The whispers in the trees felt louder, growing more aggressive as if they sensed our indecision. Against my better judgment, I stepped closer. A chill swept through the clearing, and I felt the air thicken around me. I glanced down at the altar. Dried leaves formed strange shapes, as if arranged carefully. Among them lay scraps of paper, torn and tattered, inscribed with symbols I didn't recognize. What are those? I asked. Just leave it. We don't have time. But curiosity gnawed at me. As I reached down, something rustled behind me. I whipped around to see shadows slinking closer, blending into the trees. Their bodies were elongated and distorted, nothing human. Panic gripped me, and my fingers brushed against a piece of paper. It was different from the rest, more delicate, glowing faintly. My heart raced. I pulled it from the pile. The symbols danced before my eyes, shifting as if alive. I couldn't parse their meaning, but I felt a shift in the air, like the world was inhaling, preparing for something. They're coming. The girl shouted, her voice raw. I stuffed the paper into my pocket, an unstable feeling surging through me. Let us go. I urged, but my feet remained rooted. The aura around the altar was both alluring and repugnant. What could this place hold? Without warning, the growls grew louder, echoing off the trees, a menacing harmony that had me bolting back toward the girl. I turned just in time to see a figure emerging from the underbrush, eyes gleaming with hunger. The girl grabbed my arm and pulled me with enough force to nearly topple me. We have to move now. We dashed to the edge of the clearing, but a low growl vibrated through the ground, making me stumble. I turned back, heart hammering. More shadows appeared, their movements fluid, unnatural. They shifted like shadows in a flickering light, and I felt a surge of dread. Then I remembered the map, the sense of direction it had once brought. The map might still work. If we can just find our way back, the map is not your friend. Don't you understand? She yelled. They twist it. We can't rely on it anymore. Just as I was about to retort, a sharp, angry whisper sliced through the noise around us. You've lingered too long. My blood ran cold. The owner of that voice stepped into view, a figure swathed in darkness, melding with the shadows. I could barely make out a face, but those two bright eyes locked onto mine, brimming with an unsettling knowledge. Come, it beckoned, and for a moment, a part of me wanted to obey. I felt the pull of the altar behind me, an urge to understand what it wanted to reveal. Then I remembered the girl's words. This was not a choice, it was a demand. Run. I shouted, turning back to the girl, but the moment felt stretched, caught in a web of fear and uncertainty tenfold. And then, everything went dark. I woke up gasping, the world around me hazy and disorienting. For a moment, I wasn't sure where I was, whether I was still in the woods or had somehow returned to the cabin. Confusion clouded my mind, and I squinted against the dim new light. It took a moment for clarity to return, but when it did, I realized I was lying on the soft, damp grass in a secluded glade, far from the altar or the twisted shadows that had surrounded us. The girl was next to me, eyes wide, breathless. "You're back," she exclaimed, relief flooding her voice. I thought you were gone for good." I took a moment to catch my breath, piecing together the fragments of the memories I had just lived through. "What happened?" I croaked, still dizzy from whatever had transpired. "The shadows, the figure, they can take you, you know," she said, her voice shaking slightly. "You came too close to their secrets. They like to play these games with people." My heart sank. "Did we win?" She shook her head vigorously. "It's not a game like that. They don't play fair." She glanced nervously at the trees encircling us, shadows stretching long and dark. "We just managed to slip away for now." Sitting up, I noticed the faint outline of something drawn in the dirt beside me. A circle filled with symbols similar to those I'd seen on the altar. I felt a whirlwind of emotions: curiosity, dread, and an unwilling sense of acceptance. "What now?" I asked, trying to keep any tremor from my voice. "Now we make our choice," she replied, determination lighting her pale features. "You came here looking for answers, but you have to know sometimes knowing isn't a gift. Sometimes it's a curse." I stared into her eyes, searching for something, an answer, a sign, hope, but all I found was a shadow of fear. "But we can't just run forever, can we? There's something in these woods, something I didn't understand." She looked at me, then the trees, shadows flickering around us like whispers. "Sometimes the answers are hidden for a reason." A low sound interrupted our conversation. The laughter, echoing from beyond the trees, warped and carried by the wind, filled the air with a new kind of unease. It was distant but unmistakable, a warning. My heart hammered wildly in my chest. The shadows felt alive, watching, waiting for our decision. "Maybe we should leave," I began, but doubt gnawed at me. It was clear to me now that whatever had happened in those woods was part of something much larger, woven into a fabric I couldn't quite grasp. The girl nodded. "We will." But in the depths of her gaze, I saw that I wasn't sure if she believed it either. "But if you really want answers, we can try to find them. But you have to be ready for anything." I took a breath, weighing my options. The woods could just as easily swallow us whole, hiding secrets I wished I'd never sought. But in that moment, that urge to understand was strong. I nodded slowly. "Let us go. Together." With that, we stood, gripping each other's hands tightly, and stepped back toward the trees. The laughter morphed into whispers. They no longer seemed inviting, but rather ominous, filled with promises of discovery and danger. As we moved deeper into the thrumming heart of the woods, I felt a familiar thrumming beneath my feet, like the echo of something old and powerful. The path before us faded into shadows, and I couldn't help but feel the inextricable pull toward the unknown. But deep down, I knew this wouldn't be the end. I was leaving the remnants of the cabin behind. Perhaps the haunting laughter would continue to linger, and I'd always wonder if I'd ever find a way out of this. Even as we tread forward, embracing uncertainty, I couldn't shake the lingering question: had I truly escaped, or was I simply stepping deeper into a darkness I was never meant to understand? And as those thoughts drifted through my mind, it all felt uncertain, like a story still being written, with shadows dancing just beyond the flickering edge of light.